afternoon, and welcome to Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. I am Coach Lorianne, America's #1 Take Action Success Coach and Strategist, inspiring, educating, empowering, and igniting people with caffeine to take action with jet propulsion. We assist people to find and embrace their life purpose, live their highest vision, become the next best version of themselves, and forge a strong foundation so they can soar to success. For more information on how to work with myself and my team, please feel free to look us up at ldcstrategies.com. In the meantime, our goal here at Healthy Lifestyle is, of course, to empower minds, educate hearts, inspire action, and ignite success so you can choose to live a fulfilled, healthy, emotional, spiritual, and physical life, to live the life you have always wanted and dreamed. Welcome to the show. I hope you're having a great day. On Healthy Lifestyle, of course, we give you some verbal caffeine to light you up with possibilities. And today on our show, we have Nina Khaimova. She is an attorney with 10 plus years of legal experience. She is licensed to practice New York, the United States District Court for the Southern District of New York, and the United States District Court for the Eastern District of New York. I have no idea what that means. We'll ask her in a minute. Her main practice areas are real estate, commercial litigation, probate and administration, and estate planning. Oh my gosh, all great things. And she is an owner and founder of the law offices of Nina Khaimova, PC. In 2019, I believe she set out to create a law firm founded on honesty, integrity, and accessibility. And her goal is to advance each client's interest within the bounds of the law. And this part always warms my heart because Nina has a family of 5 children and a loving and supportive husband who plays a big part in her career from beginning to today. And that's always so lovely. So welcome to the show, Nina. I'm so glad you're here.
Hi, Lorianne. Thank you for having me.
I said your name right, Khaimova, right?
Yes.
Awesome.
Perfect.
That's
Yes,
awesome. I have
perfect.
one of those last names that nobody ever pronounces it right, so I wanted to make sure it was good. So tell us, I love to know about our people. I know today we're going to talk about all different things about the law and about you and what you bring to the law and your clients. But, where did you grow up?
I actually grew up in a city called Tashkent. It's in Uzbekistan, which used to be part of former USSR. And when I was 10 years old, my family was in the situation where we decided to immigrate to New York. This was in 1996, which I don't think was so long ago, but it is so long ago.
Yeah, it doesn't feel so long ago
It
to us,
doesn't.
but yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And we came here, we gave up our life. Well, my parents gave up their lives for me and my little brother who was 8. It was very, very exciting. I had 2 older sisters, but they were 18 and 17. Um, it was very exciting because growing up, we were like, America is a land of, milk and honey, which it is. So, and then when we got here, we had a little bit of a reality check where I thought I knew some English, but I didn't. So that was grounds for some bullying when I was a kid because I didn't speak English.
Do you still
But
speak Russian?
I do, yes.
That's
I
cool.
yeah, fluently, and I read and write not as well as a peer would my age in Russia, but I remember it enough to understand what I'm reading and writing. And I've actually, like, the first language for my children is also Russian. So they're
Really?
bilingual.
That is so cool. Yeah, I wish we had learned Italian. I can understand it. I don't speak it as well because I don't use it. But I understand it and I love it and I want to use it more because I think being bilingual is really an excellent thing. I do speak French too, but I don't get an opportunity to use much French. Um, but I just think it's interesting. So you came through Ellis Island?
No, we took an airplane. We
Oh,
flew.
okay. So
And
you flew into JFK?
JFK, and it was actually so cool every because I'm not going to get into politics, but because of the situation earlier than 96, a lot of people had to go through either Moscow or Europe or, their trips were a little bit more involved. But we were like the first wave who were able to get on a plane, maybe have a layover and come straight to New York. And it was really a totally for a 10-year-old, it was a great experience because when we landed, we came here on December 13th, which was Christmas season.
Yeah.
And we get into the airport and it's just like magically beautiful. So again, for a 10-year-old, this was, very, very, very exciting.
Yeah,
And
sure.
I think it plays a big part in my life because my perspective on things as somebody who immigrated and saw her parents through the challenges of, they didn't speak a word in English. The only thing they probably knew how to say is, I don't speak English. So it played a big role in shaping my life.
Sure. Sure. Of course it would, because you're coming from a different world to this new world. So America is really sparkly for you, right?
It
I think
is.
I think a lot of Americans, because we're here, we take it for granted. I know one thing I always did with my kids is that you only know what you know growing up in your house, so you think everybody's house is like that. And so I would always bring them out and have them do volunteer work so that they recognize the fact that everybody doesn't have what they have. Everybody doesn't have the abundance, and everybody doesn't come from that. And I actually have a very dear Russian friend, and it's so funny because real quick story. She's a bartender at a restaurant that I go to, and I just adore seeing her. And the first time we were talking, she's talking to me, and she goes, "Where do you think I come from?" And I was like, "Russia." And she's like, "How did you know?" And I'm like, "The accent." Your
So there you
accent told
go.
me. So from there, we've been best friends ever since. But a different perspective. She loves this country. She understands the difference between true freedom and what she came from. She understands the opportunities that and the endless opportunities that are in front of us that we as Americans and a lot of times take for granted. So I love speaking to people who've come through that, and at a 10-year-old eyes who's now grown up and
Yep.
raising your children as Americans
Yep.
is it must just feel amazing.
It does. And the funny thing is, like, my kids are first generation, right? And so for my parents, they're like, oh, one of them could become president one day. Like it's just, but that's so cool to them. So
Yeah, it is cool. It's cool to me, and I'm an American. So, the other thing that I think is really interesting too is you really practice your religion. You really have continue to bring the culture from your family, your traditions from your family here with you and with your children growing up. And I love, love, love that because that establishes who we are. It's the foundation of a family, and I really honor you for doing that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. It's something too I love to learn about other people's cultures. So you understand what they do, why they do it. So it's really cool. And I apologize that you got bullied. You speak it perfect English and you have a gorgeous accent.
Thank you.
So shame on those people. So here's the obvious question. Why did you become an attorney?
Ah, so there's a long story and a short story, I guess.
We got time.
Great, great. I think everybody in my family always thought that I was going to go into medicine. And I did for a long time. I was considering going into medicine. Um, but then it was like I had this teenager, like, what's the word I'm looking at? Like uh, um,
Epiphany?
like a teenager who wants to revolt and be the opposite, of
Okay.
everyone around her and like prove everyone different. So, and I used to argue a lot and prove my point, and for some reason I thought that's what was necessary to be a lawyer. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go to law school. And that was high school time.
Yeah.
And so I chose a college major that was pre-law. I was legal studies. And then I went to Torah Law School. There was definitely along the way some eye-opening experiences where I was like, oh man, why did I sign up for this?
Yeah.
Sure. But I always say this, and I'm sure having known me for as long as you've known me, law school is such a unique experience. Hands down, I would recommend it to every single person because the way it teaches you to think, even if you don't practice,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
think totally different.
Yeah, because and I'll tell you what it is, because that's the exact same reason why I went to law school. I used to work at a company and I negotiated contracts, and I would always work with the legal team. And this one gentleman, he was the attorney Wayne. He was the way he thought. I was like, how do you think like that? It's something they actually teach you in law school, which you focus on really what the actual point is. And you put the emotions aside. I look at it like a bulldozer. It bulldozes through all the emotions and gets to really what the actual point is, and what in that comes intention and all that other good stuff. And that ability to think that way is so important, especially if you're working in business. Plus, I think it's good for everybody to learn the law, because law goes through every business.
Yeah.
That is something that goes through your life, through business. So having a bit of understanding of the law, it changes your perspective, because and this is, I think, what you're referring to. It's not what you think it is. It's not about right and wrong. And
No,
that's where your ability to argue comes in
right.
handy. That's where my ability to argue comes in handy, is
Yeah.
that, like, okay, I'm going to sit in my point, but if you bring up a valid point, I can rethink it, and I would rethink it. So, and there's the difference. That's the thought difference, is like really getting through.
I like to call it a solution-based career path.
Yeah,
That's what we do for our clients. It's not necessarily let's go to court and fight and win, which I must say is a small percentage of the time. It's
sure.
it's so interesting to see how even the judges are like, why don't you go home and discuss it and try to settle? Um, this is a very solution-based career. And a lot of times it's not this way or that way. It's not a yes or a no. It's not a black or a white. It's something in the middle. It's something that might work for both parties. And I like to think that as someone who's able to facilitate in that process, I'm like the messenger that's important in that process.
Well, yeah, and one thing that I think is real important, I don't always find this with a lot of attorneys, but I think an important thing for an attorney is the ability to negotiate. And with 5 children, I feel like you have that ability to negotiate, because I know with my 2 kids, that's where I learned my best negotiation skills, because it's 24/7. You're constantly in negotiations with the kids. So I really, do you think you bring some of that to what,
Absolutely.
right?
But to your point, we're not just negotiating with our kids, we're also encouraging them to negotiate between each other, where it's like, well, today you have your, I don't know, favorite toy. Tomorrow you're gonna have to give it to your sister. And that compromise, and then at the end, both of them being happy that they're getting a piece of whatever they wanted, that's I mean, it's easier in that context, versus when you're dealing with adverse parties, but absolutely.
Well, you have to, and I think this is something that people miss, is when you're going into a lawsuit, it's just not a lawsuit. It is, you need to go in with an understanding there has to be some kind of compromise. It's not necessarily going to go all your way or not your way. And I love contract law, because contract law is about equal pain, equal gain. It's never exactly equal, but if everybody feels a little pain and everybody feels a little gain, that's a good contract. So the same thing when you bring them into court, if everybody feels a little pain, feels a little gain, then and that's the only way you can solve it. The best way to solve it is not to have to go into court and get someone like yourself who will provide you with documents that will protect you, and also provide you with guidance, so that you make the right decision, so you can settle it before going into court, because that's a really costly, isn't it?
It is, and I'll add something else is most of the time when I am dealing with litigation matters, attorneys speak the same language. We pick up the phone and before we go to battle, we give each other the courtesy of, look, if we have to fight, we'll fight, but let's open that door for negotiations and possible settlements, because we both know where our weaknesses and strengths are and where our clients will benefit and lose. So it's more of a game of chess, and at the same time, we're, so to speak, in some sort of partnership or collaboration with the adverse parties sometimes.
Yeah, 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 and that makes perfect sense. It's a challenging career to be an attorney. It's a challenging career to do what you do day in, day out, especially with this the areas that you work in real estate, commercial litigation, probate and administration, and of course, estate planning. It's very challenging. The thing for me with estate planning is you're dealing with a lot of emotions. Um,
Absolutely.
so how do you balance that work life? What do you do to balance that?
Um, it's hard. It's definitely a challenge, and it was harder in the beginning. Um, with time, as with everything else, and if you allow yourself that patience to learn, to adjust, um, and I've done both ways where I've worked for an employer and now I'm working for myself. I think it's definitely both are challenging in their own ways. The downside, I guess, or rather a challenge that we have to deal with when we're working for someone else is we're on their clock. We're there for them.
Right.
We're there for our superiors. Um, provided we come in and negotiate what we want when we're interviewing and through the hiring process. But for the most part, when we're employed by someone else, we're there for them. We're doing what needs to be done. And that can be challenging with a family because, especially with babies, you're on a schedule.
Right.
And so you get help or you hire help, and hopefully that help is consistent. I mean, I can go on and on with how many people I have to thank for helping me raise my kids, from my in-laws to my parents to my siblings and my siblings-in-law, and of course I had a nanny who was amazing. But now that my kids are a little bit older and I'm on my own, I face different challenges. And so now I'm able to adjust my daily schedule to their schedule. And I tell my colleagues, I'm out of the office at 4 o'clock, which is unheard of
Right.
for attorneys. But that doesn't mean I don't, stay up late to finish whatever it is that I'm working on or to meet a deadline, after I've put all of them to bed. So yeah, and you know what? I say this proudly, and I will bring this in as far as you mentioned, like there's a certain culture, or an expectation, I guess. It's hard, but I try to make dinner for my kids every day, and we have family dinners every day, which again I think is really difficult and unheard of. Usually,
That's so
like
important.
it's so important, and usually it's like maybe once a week type of thing, but it's definitely still difficult, but it's so doable, and I will tell anyone who's an aspiring attorney, don't make the decision not to do it because you think you can't have a family and a career. You definitely can.
Yeah. Yeah. But there's challenges with everything, right? So that challenge can be just turned into something that just is. And I love and I totally respect the fact that you honor your traditions and that you take that time and you say, this is what I want. And as a coach, that's what I ask my clients all the time. What do you want? What do you want? And that's what you want. You spending that time with your family, you're making the dinners and things like that for your children. And there are times I'm sure at nights that you were like, "Oh, I don't want to do this tonight." But you do it anyway because that's what we do, right? We do it for our kids and we're creating these memories for our kids. We're creating this closeness. We're creating this bond. It's a choice and it's a choice that you made and you find that balance. Are there challenging days more than others? I'm sure. I'm sure because I
Yeah.
remember the days when I came screaming home, as quickly as I could because I needed to and wanted to and I got to make dinner for my kids. And then other times that I was just fortunate enough that my husband was a chef, so he would cook, so it was cool. But still, it's still a balance, and you want to spend that FaceTime together.
And we order plenty of time. So for whoever is listening and thinks that I run and make home and make dinner every night, we order in plenty of times to compensate and balance because it's sometimes it's not perfect.
Yeah, and that's okay. Not perfect is
Right.
okay. Imperfect is okay. Matter of
Yes,
fact, the word imperfect actually says I'm perfect in
I'm
it.
perfect. There you go.
So you can't lose. It's absolutely where you're supposed to do. The thing that you bring to the table too is this compassion, this family compassion. Let's talk a little bit about that because when clients come in to see you, that compassion is an important element, especially when you're talking about challenges, right? So, really quick in our last minute, tell me how you feel about the compassion that you have.
So many times actually, and especially if there's a family involved, like an estate planning client, the clients ask the question, what would you do? And at that point, it's sort of like this channeling, right? Like I can't push something on them that they already know I wouldn't do for myself. And I
Right.
think that's where that compassion comes in. And sometimes, and I say this, like I take off my hat and I'm like, I'm not giving you legal advice, I'm giving you personal advice.
Yeah, yeah. We're going to take a short break. You're listening to Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. We'll take a short break. We'll come back. We'll continue this conversation with Nina. More information about working with attorneys, work-life balance, all this yumminess, coming into America, becoming an American, all that good yummy stuff. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. I am Coach Lorianne, America's #1 Take Action Success Coach and Strategist. If you'd like to be a guest, lift up your business, product, non-for-profit, or if you have a question or a comment, we'd love to hear from you. Just email us at healthylifestylewithla@gmail.com. That's healthylifestylewithla@gmail.com. The team will answer you. I will answer you. We love hearing from you. So please reach out to us. We absolutely love it. Some of the people who have been on our show is as a result of your request. So thank you so much. And we do really appreciate the fact that you listen and follow us all over the place. So thank you so much for that. With that said, I want to go back to bringing Nina back on and talking to Nina about being an attorney, what it's like, having a family, 5 children, and being a successful attorney, having her own practice. We were just talking about the challenge, having a challenging career, but what do you enjoy about being an attorney?
Giving my clients results.
And that means what?
I mean, it's not always smooth sailing, right? But at the end of it, when we complete that estate plan, the trust, the will, and giving them that package, when we do a probate or administration and, get a family member appointed so that they can handle and settle their estate. There are some cases that I handle that are in court, such as foreclosure defense. People are losing their homes to foreclosure. And sometimes it's just straight litigation and we win or lose, right? Um, Most of the time we've had settlements. I haven't that many losses yet. But that feeling of accomplishment,
Yeah.
that feeling of sometimes there's closure for some of my clients where something has been going on endlessly, even a simple, well, closing, right? We all think closings are simple. They're a simple legal process, but a lot of times they're not, and a lot of times they can be frustrating. And after that closing is completed, that sense of I've reached the finish line, not just me as an attorney, but my client having gotten to that result, that's what feels rewarding to me as an attorney.
Yeah, that's totally understandable. It's important when you go to a closing to have the right person with you who's going to think of the gamut. If you don't go do this every single day, there's a lot of things you don't know that you need to do to protect yourself. And that's why I think it's real important to get the right real estate attorney involved in that, so that if in fact there's any kind of litigation or question, you already know you're protected. And I think that to me is what gives you the ability to sleep at night, don't you?
Absolutely.
So, would you recommend others to pursue a law degree after you've experienced that and after becoming an attorney?
Yes. I mean, I've actually recently met a few young attorneys, and I've met law students. And that's my upfront answer is, and you know what's funny is that I think a part of me also makes sure to tell them you're on the right track, you're doing a great job, keep doing it. It can be discouraging, don't stop, keep pushing through. Is because when I was younger, people were telling me don't do it. Every attorney I met, don't do it, don't do it. And I mean, it kind of kept pushing me, but at the same time, I kind of found it like, well, you're doing it. And, it was attorneys who have been doing it for a long time. You're doing it and you're doing great and you're practicing law, then why should I not? So I definitely encourage people to do it. Like I said, I think it's an experience that is different. And there's the other part that I like about this field is that it's so broad. You can do anything.
Yeah.
You can do absolutely anything. You don't have to be that traditional lawyer that goes to court and fights or writes up that contracts. You could be whatever you want to be. You could be a
Yeah.
consultant.
Yeah, I love that. You can be an attorney for a company.
Absolutely. You could be in-house. You could be of counsel. You
Yeah.
could work for the government.
Yeah, I don't recommend that, but I'm just joking, just joking. Having been a government worker, it's a lot. But yeah, it is encouraging to be a good attorney, and something that I had said in your bio about honesty, integrity, and accessibility. It's just so important. You know, you're helping someone else. You need to help them from the right space, right? What's one of your favorite stories? I'm going to catch you off guard a little. Favorite story, favorite client, but obviously don't use names and stuff like that. But favorite story of maybe even a juxtaposed that you didn't expect it to go someplace or it went someplace or something that's your favorite story, being an attorney.
I think I would really have to generalize because I don't want to
Yes,
too much information and respect people's privacy and abide by the rules of confidentiality. But
of course.
let's say, for example, I'm dealing with a case. For example, I'm dealing with a case that has someone passed away and it's full of different issues. And we have to set up an estate. There's a house involved. We have to sell the house. The heirs are not necessarily on the best of terms. Um, there's a recommendation, of course, to each hire an attorney, but they trust me and they say, even though we, maybe don't see eye to eye on everything or we don't agree on everything, we agree on the fact that you should be our attorney, provided all conflicts of interest are handled. And so for example, we're walking through that path of we're setting up the estate, listing the property for sale. Oh, now we have a foreclosure.
Oh my goodness.
So now we have to deal with that. And we handle that. It's probably a good thing that New York is called a judicial foreclosure state, meaning if you want to foreclose on someone, you have to sue them in court and get the appropriate orders and judgments in order before you auction off the property. But that takes time. Being in court takes time. And so in that example, what we would do is we're not going to forget about the foreclosure. We're going to defend ourselves. But because it has that, it gives us the ability to take advantage of the time. We'll push the estate, we'll push the sale, and then get it in time before having to deal with an auction. So, it could there are matters that are, so to speak, like kitchen sink, right? Everything is in there. Any issue that you could think of is in
Yeah.
there.
I call those Murphy laws, where it's just like, oh, and that too? Okay, good. That's good. Let's move on to
I
that.
mean, I could add more to the example, but I'm being respectful of our time.
Yeah, no, and also, I know you have to teeter on that position as far as making sure you don't reveal anything that
Right.
is identifiable. So, and I totally respect that, having worked with many attorneys, but I think it's really interesting, those success stories. I know you told me a success story where someone had a challenging estate, and you were able to really bring it to a conclusion in such a good way because of your experience, because you had been through it before and you brought that to the table and you were able to help those clients out. That must be such a good feeling.
It is, and besides the experience, right, it's the level of accessibility. Um, some of my clients, if not all, they're able to text me. I know that I might get disagreement on that. Um, Although I think I'm pretty good at not letting it get over out of hand. But I think that if I have a legal matter and you're the only person that can help me, right? Or let's say I'm hiring you as a coach and you're the only coach that I'm working with. Why do I have to wait for you to respond to me or having to go through, several people, right, to
Yeah.
get an answer and to get a response? So again,
Yeah.
I don't mean it to, some law firms, they need that structure, but I hold on to that because I think it gives my client that level of comfort.
Well, that's a different need too. So some people are fine with going through the formalities, and other people having that accessibility and worrying about somebody abusing it. If someone starts abusing that kind of accessibility, that's a conversation.
Right.
That's a, hey, I work from 9 to 5. If your hair's not on fire, please don't call me on
Yeah.
Saturday or Sunday, or I will respond to you on Monday. Feel free to send it, but
Right.
you're not going to get
Exactly.
a response until Monday. I actually had a client like that, called me with, they thought their hair was on fire. Their hair wasn't on fire. And I was like, we need to have a conversation. And on Monday, we had a conversation of whether or not it could have waited. And they were like, yeah, I could have. And I was like, okay, just be mindful of that next time. And I guarantee you that from that point on, they never, ever, ever contacted me unless it was really a hair on fire, someone who was bleeding. Like I used to say to my kids, jokingly, but saying to my kids, listen, I'm in a meeting right now. Only call me if you're bleeding or dead. That's the only times you can call, and it was just obviously it was a joke, but they understood it needed to be urgent, and they needed it. It actually gave them good tools of understanding the difference. There's somebody I know who everything's a 10. Everything can't be a 10, so see, be able to monitor what is really an emergency and what can wait. Can it wait an hour? Can it wait 20 minutes? Sometimes I don't even like to wait. I want an answer now, 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 now. And I have to stop myself and go, wait a minute, life happens. We just wait. It'll happen at the right time. And my hair's not on fire and I'm not dying or bleeding. So we're good.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah, so there's a way to monitor that. And I know some organizations don't like that. I like the accessibility. I like to have accessibility to my service providers, and I like to be there for my clients. So when they need me, if I'm unable to respond to them, I let them know and I'll get back to them as soon as I can, similar to you. You're very accessible, and some people need that. That's a calming force that actually keeps your relationship and them calmer because they can get to you. Right? Don't you agree?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And at the same time, I get it. It's life. Not everything can be fit into that 9 to 5 box. And
Yeah.
if I need to accommodate and meet a client on Sunday, outside of my hours, I'll make that accommodation because they just can't any other time. Like some people really work, morning to night and can't meet me any other day except the weekend. So it goes hand in hand. And that accessibility that I bring to the table, I think is so important to my clients. And I would hate to come to a point where I have to limit it.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. And that you value that. That's value added to your clients too. So here's a little bit of a personal question. Feel free not to answer it, but I figured I'd ask it anyway. Heart's beating hard right now, isn't it? So what kind of impact has because I mentioned your husband in the intro, has your husband had on you as a person and as you as a lawyer and with the family? Like, what does that look like for you?
For those who are listening and can't see my face, my smile is ear to ear. So, um, well, his name is Michael, and we've been married for over 15 years, and we've met a little under 20 years ago. I think he's my biggest fan. He's my biggest cheerleader. He has been there every single step of the way. Um, I mean, I could bring up so many examples, but from taking care of the kids if I'm working on a really difficult deadline to picking me up from a late class when I was in law school. And I did not, I went to Toro Law School. It was out in Central Islip, and I commuted from Queens. So it was a little bit over an hour of a commute. So he would come pick me up if he had to, it was just any way he could be supportive. The best definition that we can come up of a supportive spouse, that's Michael.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be more grateful for that blessing in my life because I know that sometimes it's a struggle, and um, he's made this journey better by being who he is.
That's so amazing. I love hearing stories like this. It's just like it's so great to know that you have that supportive husband. That supportive partner is really important in either direction. Michael is actually an IT guru too, so I happen to know him, and he's just amazing in on his own. Needless to say, together, you two together are just amazing. But and raising five beautiful children, that is just it's a gift in and of itself. I always say the best thing I've ever done were having my boys. Best thing I have done, best thing I ever will do is having my boys. So it's I've learned a lot from them. They've helped me grow, as I help them grow up.
Yeah, I always say my life didn't start until I had my kids, meaning like it's a totally different perspective. And we say parenting our kids, but I really think that the process goes both ways. We're parenting them and ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, without a doubt. Well, any kind of relationship, it's a two-way street, any kind of relationship. So you have five children. What's the greatest lesson you would like them to walk away with and carry on and important have an importance and value in their life as they grow up and they go into their own lives? Not that they're old enough yet, but
I think that what I would want most for my kids to, carry with them from our family is the strong values. The value of family, the value of tradition, the value of marriage, um, the value of culture and religion. Um, and I mean, there's many things that I would want them to take away, but also hoping that they'll take the most. I know that um, I admit the reality that they might not be exactly how I want them to be, but I want them to understand that life is not fair. You have to fight sometimes, and probably nothing will be handed over to you on a silver platter. And as much as I tell my kids, growing up, sometimes I didn't have the things that they're able to get from us now. They're really at an advantage, and they're blessed, and they have things that I could only dream of.
but
So what me
they
and
would
my
not
husband,
know that, right?
they would not know that, but what me and my husband like to do, and I don't know if I'll get backlash for this, but they don't have the trendiest, what's it called, the PlayStations or I don't even know what they're called. They
Right.
have TV and they get a phone at a like 13 age mark. Like and as hard it is as it is, they are limited on social media. So
But those are all traditions. That's all that's all family values. And that's creating a really strong, solid foundation of values that allows them to then take that foundation wherever they go. So, congratulations to you to be able to hold firm with that, especially in this day and age, to be able to do, to provide your children what they do and have them grow up the humans that, the best version of them that they can possibly be. So, they never grow up the way we think that they are
right.
going to either. So I have two completely different sons, completely different sons.
Yeah.
So, and the same family, same environment, the whole nine yards. It's just, they're supposed to be who they are, and we're just supposed to guide them. So, having those traditions, having those values, saying what you said about, carrying that on is beautiful. I liked making memories, things that become their memories and then become maybe their traditions as well. So we have some
Exactly.
traditions, then that they take it on. That's when I sit there and I'm going, oh, okay, they were paying attention. They were listening because you just never
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So if you were able to, and you are right now, to give some sage advice to our listeners, what would you use these last 2 minutes to say to our listeners?
Um, I mean, at the risk of repeating what I said, keep going. If there's a career path that you want to pursue, don't let anything stand in your way. There's always a challenge in life that you have to deal with. There's many challenges in life that we have to deal with, but that's only meant to make us stronger. For those of you who have a family or contemplate having a family, it's an amazing thing to do in our lives. Actually, I like to say, that by having kids and building a family, we're leaving a legacy behind us. So pursue that career with 100% of your effort. Don't let anyone tell you what you can or cannot do, and hold on to your values.
Yes, have values. Have values. That's one of the things I do in my goal setting is we need to establish values as well as goals so that you can litmus test. I use the values as a litmus test to make sure I'm on the right track with my goals. So if
Yep,
the goals are conflicting with your values, maybe they're not your
they're not
goal.
your goals.
They're not your goals. So we need to be mindful of things like that. Nina, you're an absolute joy to have on. You're an absolute joy at what you do. Again, give us those practice areas that you practice in and how you help people all over the New York tri-state area.
Yes. Well, New York.
Yep.
Right. Um, so as far as estate planning, it goes hand in hand with the surrogate proceedings, which is administration and probate. I mean, if we were to put it on a trajectory, so to speak, it would be, let's say I create an estate plan for a client, and then when that client passes away, the will that was created would be probated in court. Obviously, if there's a trust, we bypass court. Everybody should have a will or a trust. I always say we all have wills, but those wills were written by the New York State legislature. And quite frankly, I don't really want the legislature to tell my family what they should or should not have. I think I should
What
decide.
you mean, that's the probate court. So if you
Right,
don't,
and you're
well,
stuck in court. Exactly.
right.
So definitely reach out if you have any questions regarding probate administration if someone passed away in your family, and estate planning if you want to set something up for yourself or a family member. As far as the real estate and commercial litigation, real estate, really anything as far as purchasing, selling, leasing properties, feel free to reach out. As far as litigation, I try to concentrate on the civil matters, which is still along the lines of contract law and real estate, which is why I've mentioned I do foreclosure defense.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for being such a great guest. Hope to have you back on to talk more about the different areas so we can dive a little bit deeper into estate planning and things like that. Because a lot of us are under the wrong impression that, even if you have a will, it still goes to probate. You might want to consider a trust. When do you consider a trust? All these great questions we have questions on, and then real estate, big hot topic. So I'd love to have you back.
Thank you for having me, Lorianne.
Thank you for being here. And thank you all for joining us today on Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. I hope we earned the privilege of your time. Again, I want to thank my guest, Nina. Nina, how can they get in touch with you?
They can call me
At
718-551-2430.
Excellent. I'll have all that information down and your website.
It's chaimlaw.com, KHAIMLAW.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Look for our next show next Saturday at 3 p.m. on JVC Broadcasting and iHeartRadio. And we also can be found on all major platforms and would be so grateful if you please like, follow, share, and subscribe. And please take a moment for yourself and your family. Take a breath, enjoy, find the joy in every single day. Until next time, I am Coach Lorianne, America's #1 Take Action Success Coach and Strategist. Let your dreams be bigger than your fears and let your life be filled with joy. Until next time, have a great week.